a humanitarian ceasefire. You can call it what you will, and everyone has many different words for it. But the requirement from a humanitarian point of view is very simple. Stop the fighting to allow civilians to move safely. Do it for an indefinite period to facilitate an unimpeded humanitarian response. Give the people of Gaza a breather from the terrible things that have been put on them these last few weeks, and without condition, release all the hostages. We need the full leverage of the UN membership to achieve these objectives.
International humanitarian law is clear. Attacks by the likelihood of civilian death and damage to protected objects is disproportionate to the probable military advantage as constantly risked by Israel's use of explosive weapons with wide area effect in densely populated areas are prohibited. Forced displacement is prohibited. The taking and holding of hostages is prohibited, as is any use of civilians to shield locations from military operations. Collective punishment, as in the case of Israel's blockade and siege imposed on Gaza, is prohibited.
Hospitals, mosques, churches, bakeries, and over 60 UNRWA buildings and schools have been hit across Gaza. 60% of our impacted facilities were in the middle and the south areas. This is where people were told to go to safety, and they came to UNRWA buildings to be protected by the UN flag. As of yesterday, we heard that the telecommunications blackout due to the lack of fuel is adding to the anxiety and distress of people in Gaza. As the Commissioner General told the Security Council, all this cannot be casually labeled collateral damage. Mr. President, there is talk about expelling the population from Gaza altogether, including to safe zones. Unilateral proposals for safe zones are no substitute for compliance with international humanitarian law.
We are witnessing the destruction of life and property on a horrific scale. But we are also witnessing the destruction of civility, the rules-based system, and trust between countries. This crisis is an acid test for the United Nations and for you, its member states. This organization was established to foster peace in our world. If you, as member states of the United Nations, will not or cannot stop this bloodshed, then we must ask, what is the United Nations for? The crisis in Gaza is a crisis for the UN and a crisis for humanity. Talk is not enough. Resolutions are not enough. Statements are not enough. You must act, and you must act now.
This issue is front and center on everyone's mind, and they are looking to us, the United Nations, not just for answers, but for credible answers and for action. This is not the time for any further bloodletting, nor even for politics. This is the time to act in accordance with the very principles this institution was founded to promote. That is, to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. The people of Gaza and other affected areas desperately need life-saving humanitarian relief, and our singular focus must be on that issue.